Mama demands that her daughter wear a corset every single day, even when it leaves her gasping for air and her back covered in bruises, to prevent Nalan from secretly taking it off. Mama burns the corset's straps together. Classmates stared at her like she was a monster. Unable to take the pressure, Nalan begged her classmates to help remove it and put it back on after class and not to tell anyone about it. Unbeknownst to her, Mama was outside the high walls, watching her every move. Seeing Nalan's bare waist exposed, her mother felt an overwhelming shame like never before. She immediately threw away the lunchbox in her hand. Without caring about her classmates or teachers, Mama grabbed Nalan by the hair and dragged her out of school, then threw her into the car and beat her relentlessly. The students and teachers were all left wide-eyed and speechless in shock. She dragged Nalan to the corner, poured cold water. You must never lie. No man must ever touch you, not until your wedding night. Traumatized, Nalan rushed home and strapped herself into the corset again. Nalan carried this secret with her, masked by a flawless exterior, all the way to the age of 20. Unfortunately, her phone is about to die, and the car charger is broken. This is exactly the kind of daughter-in-law her father dreams of. It turned out that despite his immense wealth, Sedat had long refused to marry, because he had fallen for a married woman with 2 children. When his father, Mr. Corset, found out about the affair, he was absolutely furious. He lashed out at Sedat, accusing him of having no is soon painted as the real deal. Don't let anyone touch you, even a finger. Especially not Sedat, who knows how many women he's already defiled. Before the wedding, don't you dare cross the line and disgrace our family. The 2 families greet each other with polite warmth. Nalan's hand to stop her from shaking his. Everyone notices the odd tension. Mama has a very Nalan passes out from the tight grip and crashes to the floor. Ironically, even in her unconsciousness, she dreams of marrying Sedat in a blissful ceremony. When she wakes up, she is already back in her own room. Mama spends the whole night staring at the sea, unable to sleep. Dad tries to calm her down. Nalan was only out for an hour. There's no way she could have done anything improper. But Mama is still uneasy and orders the nanny to prepare a bath for Nalan. You must examine every inch of her skin, even if there is a spot the size of a pinhole. The nanny follows Mama's instructions and begins inspecting her skin. Nalan notices that she is out of sorts. Nanny changes the subject and asks her what happened last night. Trusting her completely, Nalan confesses that she dreamt about Sedat kissing her again. She simply can't control it. Neither of them notices that. Worried that Mama might be unwell, Nalan presses the gas pedal and drives fast. But the moment she sees the gynecology sign, a wave of painful memories floods back. 10 years ago, Mama found a movie ticket in her bag and assumed she'd been out with a boy. Nalan tried to explain it was a classmate's ticket and she never went. But Mama didn't believe her. She dragged her here for a virginity test and told her to keep her mouth shut. Now, Nalan realizes she's reliving the exact same nightmare. In the middle of removing her makeup, also gets news that Sedat is critically ill. She rushes to the hospital, but Sedat's family wants nothing to do with her. Seelan shoves her up against the wall. That's enough. Cut the fake sympathy act. It turned out their secretary had just found out the accident had happened on the road back from Kana's address. Instantly, they realized Sedat had been to see her. This boy, we'd tried everything, but he just wouldn't learn. They lamented, at a loss for what to do. Hours later, the doctors emerged to announce the surgery is successful. Sedat won't be disabled. He just needs months of rest to recover. However, the taxi driver he crashed into isn't so lucky. He is still in critical condition, fighting for his life. Upon hearing this, Mama seems to have been severely traumatized. She keeps pounding her head. It turns out the taxi driver's ordeal has brought her daughter flooding back to her mind. Bombshell revelation: Nalan isn't actually her daughter, since she's her granddaughter. 26 years ago, her pregnant daughter was wheeled into the operating room and never came out alive. As soon as Nalan walks into Sedat's ward, Mrs. Corset takes her hand and places it in his. Mrs. Corset genuinely adores Nalan, hoping she'll become her son's anchor. Kana, though, can only stand in the corner watching bitterly. She's not about to let Nalan get her way. After emergency treatment, the taxi driver survives but loses both legs forever. Sedat is overwhelmed by guilt. That day, Mr. Corset takes him to apologize in person, making him face the sin he's committed. His momentary mistake has inflicted permanent harm on someone else. The driver lives in a slum, supporting his whole family with his taxi work. Now, stuck in bed without legs, his home is utterly destitute, no decent furniture at all, and he has 2 kids to raise. His youngest daughter isn't even a meter tall. Mr. Koroglu apologizes profusely, Prom puts it on happily. Just then, the restaurant owner tells them reporters are swarming the entrance, ready to rush in. To avoid disturbing other guests, they decide to face the reporters together. In front of everyone and the cameras, Sedat declares he loves Nalan deeply and they're getting married soon. He takes her hand, their fingers interlacing. They look like a prince and princess, drawing envious glances from all. Us feels a whirlwind of emotions watching the news. He's fallen for Nalan's innocence and kindness, but now he can only silently wish her happiness. Sedat then calls Kana, telling her it's over, they'll stay out of each other's lives, and this call is their final goodbye. Kana acts calm and indifferent, but after hanging up, she stamps her feet in rage. She's not angry about the breakup itself, but that Sedat dumped her. To her, it's a humiliating disgrace. Just because Nalan held her fiancé's hand with intertwined fingers once before marriage, her conservative mother thinks she's been defiled and committed a grave sin. Mama smears a cursed mud all over Nalan's right hand, claiming it will purify her evil soul. At the same time, she warns Nalan, don't touch any man before marriage, or I'll break your hand for sure. Dad's heart aches to see her hand wrapped up like a mummy's, but under Mama's fierce stare, Nalan dares not tell the truth. She lies that she accidentally burned herself with boiling water. Just then, Mr. Koroglu calls Dad, saying he wants to take his future daughter-in-law to pick out a wedding dress. Mama has no reason to refuse. She drags Nalan to the basement to put on a corset, warning her again and again, don't meet your fiancé alone before the wedding. Nalan looks helpless. When will this torment end? Mr. Koroglu absolutely dotes on Nalan as his daughter-in-law. The usually stingy man splurges for the first time. He gifts her a prime piece of land in Istanbul, nestled between mountains and sea. He also takes her to an automobile dealership, telling her to pick out a luxury car worth millions as a present. Mama makes Nalan keep the call on the entire time, monitoring her via the phone, terrified she'll meet her fiancé alone. However, what she fears most comes true. When Sedat hears they're at the dealership, he shows up too. Nalan panics instantly, hurrying to hang up on Mama. She forces a calm face, exchanging polite greetings with Sedat. Mama senses something's wrong when the call cuts off suddenly. She floods Nalan's phone with text, demanding she answer. Nalan uses a test drive as an excuse, hiding in a car to answer Mama's call. Nalan says categorically that she hasn't seen Sedat. Unfortunately, Sedat opens the passenger door and asks, "Do you like this car?" Mama immediately realizes Nalan is lying and is determined to punish her severely. Once Nalan gets home, Mama locks her in the basement, where underwear and corsets hang everywhere. She intends for Nalan to taste fear, to crush any nerve she has to lie again. Gazing at the shackles, Nalan huddles in the corner, trembling uncontrollably. It's not until her friend comes to see her the next day that Mama finally lets her out. After this punishment, Nalan learns to be obedient. Filler wants to take her out, but Nalan insists on staying home, behaving herself. Just then, Sedat calls to ask her out to dinner, saying, a day apart feels like 3 seasons. Even though she wanted to, Nalan refuses on the grounds that she has to do her housework. Biller rails at her for being stupid, urging her earnestly to loosen up. The most important things in life are freedom and happiness. Without them, what's the difference between you and an animal? Sedat's so good to you, but you keep pushing him away, it'll break his heart. Where else will you find a husband who's rich, handsome, and this kind? Nalan wavers. If she loses this chance to marry, she'll probably be trapped in this cage forever. She has no choice but to tell Biller that Mama doesn't want her to meet her fiancé before the wedding. Biller has a sudden flash of inspiration and suggests going to ask Dad to cover for her. The two rush downstairs to ask Dad for help. He fully approves, seeing no harm in it. After all, spending more time with her fiancé is how you get to know someone. But he warns Nalan to get back before Mama arrives. With her father's approval, Nalan calls Sedat back, saying plans have changed, she's free to see him now. As soon as they arrive at the restaurant, Sedat mentions he has a wild idea. He wants to get married right away. It moves Nalan, who's never been in love, to tears. He takes the chance to hold her hand, testing her feelings. Nalan pulls back instinctively, but then remembers her friend's words about bravely chasing happiness. She gathers courage and reaches out her hand. Sedat pauses for a second, then breaks into a smile. He drags his chair right next to hers, murmuring sweet nothings, but Nalan hears none of it. Her eyes are fixed on his lips, yet when his lips draw near, fear takes over. She jumps up, excusing herself to the restroom. Her shyness strikes Sedat as endearing. Neither notices they're being photographed. Meanwhile, Mama, at the dentist, sees the gossip. Fury makes her shake all over, and she rushes to track Nalan's location, heading straight for her. When the two leave the restaurant, they part reluctantly. Sedat confesses he can't bear to be apart, wanting to be with her every day. Nalan lights up, tossing aside old rules to plant a first kiss, one she's guarded for years. Unbeknownst to her, Mama watches from across the street. The sight of Nalan's shamelessness hits her like 1,000 blows. She wants to tear Nalan apart, but she holds back because paparazzi are nearby, snapping photos. Mama hurries to the herbal shop, intent on brewing holy water to exorcise evil. The pharmacist warns her that 2 of the ingredients can't be mixed. They could cause fatal allergic reactions. But Mama ignores him, fixated on the news of the kiss. When Nalan gets home, Mama isn't back. Everyone thinks their little act was flawless. Nalan drags her friend to her room, gushing about the kiss. It was magical. Biller is genuinely happy for her, congratulating her on finding true love. Mama returns home, acting as if nothing happened, and asks if they've been home all this time. Everyone affirms it in unison. That's when Mama knows they're all lying to her. Rage boils over. She makes up an excuse to send Biller home, then tells Nalan to wait for her in the basement. Mama pulls out her phone, showing Nalan the news, staring at her like the Grim Reaper. Before Nalan can explain, Mama yanks her hair, screaming about her shamelessness, how she's disgraced the family. No amount of Nalan's tearful pleas helps. Mama just keeps using that big wooden spoon to hit her. She forces Nalan to promise not to see Sedat again until the wedding. But Mama still isn't satisfied. She demands a written confession. Not until you've written, "I repent my sins 4,444 times will you step foot out of this house." Nalan has no choice but to obey. To purge her daughter of sin, Mama dumps her for exorcism. 3 hours later, Mama forces Nalan to drink it, threatening, "If you don't repent, I'll end my own life to settle this." Nalan has never defied Mama all these years. He can't bear to lose her. But Mama doesn't see that. She only wields this threat like a weapon. Mama dips her fingers in the water and rubs it repeatedly over Nalan's lips, the ones that kiss Sedat. She then orders the maid to bathe Nalan, insisting every inch inside and out be scrubbed thoroughly with a wire brush. The maid is terrified, but she's powerless to protect Nalan. Not only that, Mama also cuts off Nalan's food supply and lies to Dad, saying she's on her period and has already fallen asleep. Dad is only too eager for Nalan to rest more, so he never goes to disturb her. Unable to stand by, the maid sneaks food to Nalan in the basement. Seeing Nalan too weak to stand, she wraps her in a hug, small comfort but warm. Nalan weeps silently. A stranger shows more kindness than her own mother. It makes no sense. But here's the cruel twist. Mama does love Nalan in her warped way. She stares at the ghost of her dead daughter, convinced every act is for her granddaughter's good. More than 20 years ago, Mama was not as heartless as she is now. She doted on her daughter, cherished her like a fragile treasure, until the girl slept with a man behind their backs and got pregnant out of wedlock. Then came the premature birth, the hemorrhage. Her daughter died after giving birth to Nalan. That loss left Mama with deep psychological scars. She's never stopped blaming herself for failing to discipline her, for not protecting her, for letting her recklessness cost her life. So she changed her approach to parenting. The next day, Nalan breaks out in a fierce rash. No matter how hard she scratches, the itch won't subside. Mama calls it a sign the holy water's working. It's burning the sin out of you. She forces another bowl down Nalan's throat and won't stop till the day before her wedding. Mama slams down a stack of blank paper, ordering her to keep writing the confession. Nalan feels the weight of death pressing in. In the secret base, Sedat, unable to bear loneliness, finds a woman. Just as things are about to escalate between them, his ex-lover Kana bursts in. Catching sight of the woman, younger and more beautiful than herself, Kana feels a sense of crisis. She puts on a virtuous act, lecturing the woman that seducing an engaged man is immoral. Surprisingly, the woman buys it and leaves. Sedat declares they've already broken up and whatever he does now has nothing to do with her. But Kana is clearly unwilling to let go. She points out he can't forget her. He's just looking for someone to replace her. And that strikes a nerve deep in his subconscious. Desperate to get rid of Kana, Sedat tells his father he can't wait to marry Nalan, begging him to set an auspicious wedding date soon. Mr. Corsetglu beams with joy at his son's resolve. The next morning, Mr. Corsetglu takes the family to Nalan's house. Eager not to trouble Nalan's family, he brings a whole team of servants along with pre-made delicacies and assorted pastries. Mama anxiously orders the nanny to keep Nalan upstairs at all costs. No noise, no going downstairs. She's determined to delay the wedding. When the nanny notices Nalan's skin covered in large red rashes, she wants to inform Mama, but Nalan stops her. She doesn't want to worry anyone. Hiding behind the window, she watches Sedat downstairs. It's enough for her. Mama lies to them. Nalan isn't home. She's gone to her aunt's farm to rest because of illness, where the air is lovely. But sharp-eyed Muzo senses something off from Mama's unnatural behavior. He excuses himself to use the bathroom, slipping out of her sight. By now, Nalan struggles to breathe. Her skin itches unbearably and she coughs as if her lungs will burst. Too weak to make a sound, she bangs on the floor for help. Muzo just happens to be passing by downstairs. Hearing the violent coughing and banging, he follows the sounds up the stairs. When he opens the door, Muzo can hardly believe his eyes. The usually elegant girl looks disheveled, like a madwoman. Staring at the unconscious Nalan and the scattered confession papers, Muzo understands everything. He rushes out shouting that Nalan is in trouble. They need an ambulance immediately. Mama panics, ordering everyone to stay put and not go upstairs, insisting she'll handle it. That's when everyone realizes Mama is lying. Nalan has been home all along. No one can make sense of why she'd do this. Dad calls their private doctor, urging him to hurry. During this time, he notices the confession papers on the bed and instantly grasps what Mama has been doing behind his back. After examining Nalan, the doctor confirms she's suffering a severe allergic reaction, likely from something she ate, which has caused swelling in her airways. She'd be dead if Muzo hadn't found her in time. The doctor's words leave Mama weak at the knees. Dad spots bruising all over Nalan's arms. The doctor notes they're unrelated to the allergy, possibly from violent impact. That comment jolts Dad awake. He wishes what he's thinking isn't true. Learning Nalan will be fine after a few hours of rest, Sedat's family finally relaxes. They stare at Mama with mixed looks. Dad apologizes for his wife's behavior. Mr. Corset feels upset and hurt. He traveled all this way out of care for Nalan only to be met with coldness. He announces they'll never visit again without permission, then leads the family away. That evening, Nalan wakes up. Dad asks if Mama gave her something to eat or did something to her. Mama, watching through the crack in the door, stares at Nalan intently. Nalan denies it, unwilling to betray Mama. But Dad still senses something is off. Downstairs, Dad explodes in anger at his wife. He demands to know if she made Nalan drink that weird mixture of herbs and garbage. Is a single kiss really reason enough to almost kill our granddaughter? Mama snaps back, if we let her run wild, she'll end up like our daughter. Even if Nalan hates me, I'll fight to give her a life without shame. Dad retorts, but you can't make her happy. You almost killed her. The words snap Mama out of her trance. Deep in the night, Nalan goes to the balcony and apologizes to Mama, vowing never to defy her again. But Mama, convinced she's lying, refuses to believe her. With tears in her eyes, Nalan takes Mama's hand and speaks from her heart. Mama, this is the first time I've ever been in love. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I can't stop loving Sedat. Hearing this, Mama is overcome with emotion. Maybe it's time to let go, let her chase her own happiness. The next day, Dad calls Mr. Corset to apologize again, explaining that Mama had lied because Nalan was sick and didn't want them to see her looking unwell. Mr. Corset responds with generosity, saying they're all family, no need for such formalities. He then takes the chance to invite Nalan's family to visit the wedding venue tomorrow to discuss preparations. That evening, Kana bombards Sedat with texts demanding to talk. Sedat slips out of the house sneakily, but Selin catches him in the act. Sedat gets into Kana's car, making it clear he's no connection to her anymore and telling her to stop harassing him. But Kana sneers, a philanderer's heart never stays put. Sedat replies firmly that he's serious about Nalan, that he truly loves her. Kana finds it imposed. Selin sees this and mistakenly thinks that Sedat is still fooling around with Kana. As soon as he enters the room, she calls him a scumbag. You just proposed to Nalan and now you're meeting Kana in secret? Have you no shame? Sedat explains he went to cut ties with Kana, but Selin refuses to believe him. She decides to take matters into her own hands. The next day, Selin storms into the gym alone, warning Kana to stay away from Sedat and Nalan. She adds that she doesn't want to see Kana at the wedding. Kana, unfazed, smirks and claims she could ruin the wedding in 2 minutes if she wanted. Selin fires back. Go ahead and try. I'll use every bit of my family's power to destroy you and yours. Kana, furious at the insult, decides to target the naive Nalan first. She calls Nalan, asking to meet for coffee. At first, Kana flatters Nalan, praising her smooth, glowing skin. I spend so much on my face, but I can't get it as fresh as yours. Genuinely, Nalan tells her not to put herself down. For her age, she looks great. After all, I'm over 10 years younger and I've never had kids. It's only natural my skin's a bit better. The comment infuriates Kana, though she hides it. Kana shifts tactics, warning Nalan about her failed marriage and how hard in-laws can be, especially Sedat's parents, who are so strict. You'll suffer once you marry into their family, she says. Nalan picks up on the provocation and retorts, you're older and have more experience, but your failed marriage doesn't mean mine will fail. We're completely different people. Kana doesn't push it, instead putting on a warm smile. She says her kids adore Nalan and asks for a photo to show them. Nalan agrees graciously. Kana sends the photo to Selan, a petty revenge for the earlier insults. Nalan panics and shows it to her father. Mr. Coraglu decides to step in, determined to protect his kind-hearted future daughter-in-law. The moment they meet, Kana brazenly declares he has no right to meddle in her private life, and that he can't order her around like he does Sedat. Mr. Coraglu responds sternly, who you sleep with is your business. But stay away from my family, especially Nalan. That's my line in the sand. Not even my own and his ill-mannered daughter. Humiliated repeatedly by the family, Kana seethes with resentment. She swears to make them pay. That night, both families gather at Selan's hotel, the wedding venue, to go over the details. Selan has hired a dance instructor to teach the bride and groom. With so many media at the wedding, they need to look their most elegant. Under the instructor's guidance, Nalan places her hand on Sedat's shoulder and takes his hand. At first, she's nervous, glancing anxiously at Mama, but as Sedat matches her steps, she relaxes. All distractions fade and they look only at each other, a picture of perfect love. Mama can't watch anymore. He steps out to calm down, heading for the restroom. Unexpectedly, Kana stops her, spilling everything. Sedat's family has been lying to you. Our first meeting? Mr. Coraglu planned it all. The rumors are true. I've been having an affair with Sedat for 7 years. Mama is stunned, caught between a rock and a hard place. The wedding is days away. Calling it off now would crush Nalan, but letting it happen, could Nalan end up like her mother? Nalan, worried that Mama hasn't returned, runs to the restroom to look for her. Mama asks Nalan if she's truly happy now. Nalan replies that it's the first time she's felt loved, truly, deeply loved, the way you only read about in fairy tales. Everything feels this beautiful because of it. Hearing her certainty, Mama, her face long clouded with worry, smiles at her for the first time. In a daze, she sees her late daughter, recalling how her girl once looked forward to becoming a bride, only to be abandoned by that playboy. She must let her granddaughter wear the wedding dress her daughter never got to. As long as she's alive, no one will hurt her granddaughter. Mama returns to the hall, pretending nothing's wrong, and thanks Sedat's family for preparing such a splendid wedding. She even says she'll send Nalan's dowry over soon. Her unexpected cooperation has left everyone completely baffled. Mrs. Coraglu and Selan whisper behind her back, one trip to the restroom, and the devil turns into an angel. In the middle of the night, Mama asks Muzo to meet her at the port. She gets straight to the point, telling him everything Kana said. Muzo, seeing no point in hiding, opens up completely. He admits his brother made mistakes, but those are in the past. We come from a wealthy family, but none of us kids are truly happy. Father never paid attention to me because of my hunchback. He pinned all his hopes on Sedat. That pressure left Sedat lonely. Meeting Kana was like finding water in a desert. He just wanted someone to value him. Mama nods in understanding. Nalan and Sedat are the same kind of people. Now that they've found each other, I hope they can heal one another. Muzo knows Nalan is kind-hearted and trusts she can change his brother. Mama, seeing Muzo as the most reliable one in that family, begs him to look after Nalan to support her. Muzo promises her on the spot. Tomorrow, Nalan will walk down the aisle with her beloved Prince Charming, but there's no joy on her face, only terror. Even though Mama has lifted her restrictions and is going all out to arrange the wedding, that ferocious look on Mama's face keeps flashing in her mind. Living cautiously has long become a habit for Nalan. Mama packs away the man-proof vest that's tormented Nalan for years, letting her wear just a silk dress. But this only fills her with panic and unease. Without that binding, Shikelish feels as if she were stark naked. Mama tells her to forget everything that happened here to start a new life. Nalan leaves home with mixed feelings, embarking on her new journey. Little does she know, it's the start of a nightmare. An innocent girl and the son of Turkey's richest man walk down the aisle. Nalan thinks she's married the love of her life, that salvation is finally within reach. Little does she know, this man is the one who will drag her into hell. The wedding has barely ended when Sedat darts to the restroom to sleep with his lover. By coincidence, his mother comes in to pee. Hearing two voices she knows all too well and the door thudding, she instantly realizes what's happening. Ashamed and enraged, she runs out. Mrs. Coraglu had wanted to confess her son's lechery to her husband, but he's overjoyed that their son married such a wonderful girl. She can't bring herself to ruin his mood. The two emerge from the restroom after their tryst, thinking they've pulled it off without a soul knowing. What they don't see is Mama hiding behind the wall, watching everything. Once they part, she storms up to Kana, yanks her by the hair, and screams insults about her shamelessness. "Stay away from my daughter's husband, or I'll make you regret it." But Kana long ago cast aside notions of decency. Since Mama has humiliated her like this, she'll make sure Nalan pays for it tenfold. Sedat hurries back to his room, eager to be intimate with his new wife. Seeing how innocent and lovely she looks, he can't wait to kiss her. At first, Nalan manages to tolerate it. But when he starts to unzip her dress, her mind floods with images of Mama's fierce face and her warnings. She shoves Sedat away at once, saying she needs to find her mother, and flees the room as if escaping an execution ground. Sedat is left staring, bewildered. Nalan was raised by Mama to avoid all contact with men, even holding hands was forbidden. This extreme mindset has seeped into every cell, making physical intimacy an instinctive repulsion. Nalan works up the courage to knock on Mama's door, begging her to save her. But Mama refuses without mercy. "Didn't you marry Sedat willingly? Now you're a wife with a new family. Don't expect me to help you ever again." Nalan tearfully pounds on the door, begging to be let in. Though Mama's heart is breaking, she clings to the doorknob, refusing to open it. She's doing this to force Nalan to grow independent, to break her reliance. After all, she's getting old. She can't be by Nalan's side forever. There are things Nalan must learn to handle alone. Nalan returns to her room in despair and sits at the foot of the bed all night. When Sedat wakes, he apologizes, assuming his drunkenness is why their wedding night never came to fruition. Nalan is embarrassed and ducks into the bathroom with her clothes to change. Nalan fumbles frantically with the bra clasp, but can't fasten it. It's her first time touching a bra in 25 years. Her mother never taught her how to wear one. Just then, her husband steps up behind her and fixes it. His skillful movements make it obvious he's done this for plenty of other women before. Afterward, the newlyweds head downstairs to greet everyone and join them for breakfast. Sedat thoughtfully places a piece of meat on his wife's plate. Nalan, out of habit, glances at Mama, then moves the meat to the side, daring to eat only tomatoes and cucumbers. Mr. Corsetglu urges that now that they are married, it's time to give him a grandchild soon. Sedat doesn't answer directly. Instead, he shifts the focus to his sister. "She got married before me, and she still hasn't had kids." Nalan shoots him an annoyed look. However, Mama also presses them about having children, asking Nalan what happened the night before. Nalan timidly says she's not ready yet. Noticing her discomfort in the bra, her first time wearing one, Mama adjusts the straps on her back, telling her to learn to adapt to this new life. When breakfast ends, Nalan says a reluctant goodbye to her parents. From now on, she's officially leaving her family to live with Sedat and will have to fend for herself. Brimming with joy, Sedat leads Nalan out of the car and introduces her to the servants and the villa. He plays the part of the perfect husband, using all his charm to make Nalan fall for him. But the moment Sedat leaves the room, Nalan rushes straight to the bathroom. It's the first time she's ever bathed alone. She copies the nanny's way of lathering soap on a towel, scrubbing her body fiercely, convinced she's dirty that she shouldn't have let Sedat touch her. Nalan can't shake the ideas Mama drilled into her over the years. She feels helpless and terrified. Meanwhile, Mrs. Corsetglu finds her son and scolds him harshly. "I know what you did with Kana in that bathroom. It was disgusting. How can you do this to such a kind, wonderful wife? Have you forgotten your father almost threw you out of the house?" Seeing his mother's heartbreak, Sedat swears he'll never go near Kana again. Mama decides to trust him one last time, warning that if he gets tangled up with Kana again, she'll cut off their mother-son relationship for good. Sedat then finds Nalan and suggests taking her to a beach party later. But at the mention of it, Nalan's heart begins to pound with fear. Mama had never let her wear revealing clothes, so she couldn't find a single swimsuit in the women's section that felt right. In the end, Mama picked out a pair of men's baggy trunks and an oversized swimsuit for her, and even made her wear a girdle underneath. She'd wanted Nalan to learn to swim as a survival skill, but to keep others from seeing her skin, Mama had dragged Nalan to the pool every morning at 6 a.m. to practice. If any man came near, she'd immediately make Nalan get out, wrap her up tightly, and yell at the men, calling them rapists. In the afternoon, Sedat takes his fully covered wife to the island to attend his friend's party. It's Nalan's first time seeing the sea and stepping into such a wild, wealthy social circle. When Sedat suggests taking off their coats and going swimming together, Nalan is instinctively afraid. She can only stammer, lying that she doesn't know how to swim. While everyone else is carousing and dancing to the music, Nalan sits all alone on a bench, left out in the cold. To avoid being seen as an anomaly, she intends to strike up a conversation with others under the pretext of ordering juice. Unexpectedly, she catches sight of Kana again. Kana greets Nalan with feigned enthusiasm and brings her friends over to Nalan's side. She chatters about interesting stories from her past with Sedat, aiming to deliberately make others say snub Nalan, letting her know that if she can't fit into his circle, she shouldn't force her way in. Nalan knows deep down that she's ultimately an outsider. Dejected, she finds an excuse to go to the restroom. However, this scheming Kana still doesn't let her off. She arranges for two women to speak loudly outside the restroom door. Sedat's wife is beautiful, but she's not attractive. She looks pale and can't hold a candle to Sedat's ex. Their relationship won't last long. This makes the already insecure Nalan even more timid and shrinking. After the party, Nalan helps the drunk Sedat back home. Since Sedat were too little, his back got sunburned under the scorching sun, so he asks Nalan to apply lotion for him. Having never touched a man's body before, Nalan panics. Fortunately, Sedat, dead drunk, falls asleep. The next day is Nalan's return visit to her parents' home. At the table, Mama keeps prying information out of them. When she learns that her daughter still hasn't consummated the marriage 3 days after the wedding, Mama finds an excuse to call Nalan into the kitchen. She interrogates Nalan why she's still a virgin and urges her to have a child soon. Otherwise, people will think her daughter is defective, bringing shame to their family. While Sedat is playing chess with Dad, Mama stares at him intently from the side. She thinks Nalan is definitely fine. Could it be that her son-in-law is still pining for someone else and deliberately neglecting Nalan in bed? When she sees Sedat leave midway, Mama immediately follows him. She confronts Sedat, asking why he still hasn't consummated the marriage with Nalan. She's a pure woman with no experience. You have to take the initiative to fulfill your duties as a husband. The mother-in-law's words shatter Sedat's values. He believes that Nalan's wishes should be respected. One can't force things, and they should let nature take its course. Nalan, noticing that neither of them has returned for a long time, gets up to look for them. Mama orders Sedat to sleep with Nalan tonight, even if he has to force her. If Nalan hadn't heard it with her own ears, she would never have believed that such words could come from the prim and proper Mama. Listening to Mama keep pressuring Sedat, Nalan steps forward to interrupt her. But Mama shows no sign of embarrassment. Instead, she says it's for Nalan's own good. Otherwise, people will laugh at her for being defective, and her husband will get bored and abandon her. She warns Nalan that she must complete this task that night, or else she'll do it herself. At this moment, Nalan finally realizes that Mama is the root cause of her pain. On the way back, Sedat keeps comforting the gloomy Nalan, telling her not to feel guilty or ashamed about this. Mama is just expressing her love in her own way. To help her forget the unpleasantness, Sedat takes her to ride a yacht. He tells Nalan that he bought it secretly behind his father's back. If his father knew he was spending money so recklessly, he'd definitely get a beating. Nalan is amused, remarking that he's really a handful. When she sees the bed in the cabin, Nalan's mind keeps replaying Mama's orders. After a struggle in her thoughts, Nalan takes the initiative to kiss her husband. Her unexpected behavior makes Sedat's eyes light up, but he knows it's because Nalan is influenced by Mama, so he stops. He reassures her, you don't have to force yourself to do something you don't want to. When we're both ready, it'll be enjoyable. This is between us, we don't have to care what others say. Sedat's words finally lift the long-standing weight from Nalan's heart. She's grateful to have such a considerate and gentle husband. On the first day after the honeymoon, Nalan gets up early, dresses herself up beautifully, and prepares to go back to the company to work. Unfortunately, when she mentions this to Mr. Corset, she is met with refusal. Mr. Corset states that as the new daughter-in-law of the nation's richest family, her every word and action is watched and monitored. The family will definitely be gossiped about. Her current top priority is to have a child to bring honor to the family. Nalan is in a bad mood but acquiesces. She thinks that maybe after completing the task of passing on the family line, she will be free to go to work. Later, she goes to the company to pack her things and prepare to resign. As Mr. Corset says, everyone who sees her bows and scrapes, fawning over her excessively. This makes Nalan very uncomfortable. She never expects that she has just moved from one cage to another. In the blink of an eye, a month passes and Mama still hasn't received news of Nalan being pregnant. The domineering Mama decides to take matters into her own hands. That night, Mama calls Nalan and urges her to complete the task that evening. She also demands that Nalan open the curtains of the room and not turn off the lights. These strange requests leave Nalan deeply confused. Mama spies on her daughter and son-in-law's room through a telescope, intent on watching a live show of them having sex. Nalan trembles uncontrollably at the sight. She never could have imagined that her mother would be so insane. Just then, Muzo goes out to run an errand. Looking up, he notices that Nalan by the window seems to have seen something terrifying. Following her gaze to the opposite building, he is shocked beyond words. Muzo knows that Mama is very strict with Nalan, but he never thinks it will reach such a perverted level. Nalan forces a smile and tells Sedat that she is fully prepared that day. Sedat is overjoyed to hear this. After playing the role of a good husband for so long, this is what he's been waiting for. Nalan deliberately leads him to the window, wanting to give Mama an explanation. Little does she know that her brother-in-law is also watching the live broadcast. Nalan stands there like a puppet, letting Sedat's lips brush over her skin. However, Mama's teachings and insults keep echoing in her mind. Nalan suddenly convulses and begging for forgiveness. This startles Sedat. Nalan doesn't know how to explain, so she just keeps shaking her head and flees to the bathroom, crying bitterly. Sedat asks her to come out and talk things through, but Nalan only feels that she is dirty and keeps washing her hands. Sedat's anger surges. He hasn't forced her, he has only started after getting her permission. Why is she now treating him like a monster? He feels like he's been played for a fool and has had enough. Seeing that Nalan has failed again, Mama is furious, complaining that she is incompetent and stupid. At that moment, Muzo knocks on the door and confronts Mama. Why you're doing such perverted things? Mama claims that she is doing it all for Nalan's good and even tries to get Muzo to join her in helping Nalan. Muzo thinks this is utterly absurd and demands that Mama move out immediately. Annoyed by his wife who keeps ruining the mood, Sedat finds Kana to vent, sighing that marriage is so boring. But before he can say much, Mama arrives. She slaps Sedat hard across the face and shouts insults at him, calling him shameless despite his fancy appearance, cheating on her daughter behind her back. Then she turns on Kana, hurling the most vicious insults imaginable. She warns them that if there is a next time, she will make sure they won't live to see another day. Humiliated, Kana vows to make Nalan's family pay double for this. Sedat returns to the room and apologizes to Nalan, saying he is the one in the wrong and begging for her forgiveness. Nalan's heart is filled with unspeakable suffering. The next day, Selin asks Nalan out for coffee, wanting to chat openly about marriage and the future. As soon as they step out of the cafe, they're swarmed by a crowd of reporters. The reporters bombarded Nalan with questions, demanding to know if she'd rushed into marriage because she was pregnant. Selin hurries to pull Nalan away. Nalan initially has no desire to argue with them, but the reporters keep pressing, refusing to let her go. Annoyed, Nalan blurts out in a fit of pique, "Everything you say is right." This impulsive remark brings her a disaster of catastrophic proportions. That night, news of Nalan's shameful secret, pregnant before marriage, rushing to wed in desperation, hits the headlines, causing a huge stir across the city. This enrages Mr. Koroglu, who values chastity and reputation above all else. He abandons his usual gentle demeanor and, for the first time, erupts into a furious tirade at Nalan, blaming her for bringing shame to the family's generations of honor and ruining the clan. Nalan never imagines her unintended mistake could lead to such severe consequences. She tries to explain, but Mr. Koroglu gives her no chance, scolding her for only knowing how to cry all day. The family members rush to defend her, saying there's no need to pay attention to these false reports. But Mr. Koroglu, having lost his senses, lashes out at everyone in sight, yelling at whoever crosses his path. Mrs. Koroglu can't stand it anymore. She snaps at him to shut up and get out, telling him not to hurt the children. Mr. Koroglu is stunned. His wife, who's always been timid and shrinking in his presence, is no longer silent. Mr. Koroglu goes alone to his family's hotel. He can't accept that the daughter-in-law he personally chose has a stain, nor can he bear his wife's defiance. He goes to the restroom to splash water on his face, trying to stay calm. But his pent-up anger triggers a sudden fainting spell. He collapses to the floor. Fortunately, a cleaner who's cleaning nearby finds him in time and rushes him to a private hospital. After an examination, the doctor says the extreme agitation has caused angina. She advises Mr. Koroglu to stop worrying so much and keep his emotions steady. The cleaner, Harry, intends to inform his family, but Mr. Koroglu flatly refuses. He doesn't want the matter to escalate further and attract more gossip. Hari, worried about him, stays behind to tend to him with meticulous care. On the other side, Mrs. Koroglu firmly believes Nalan isn't an unchaste woman and is determined to clear her name. She secretly calls Javet for help, a powerful figure with connections in both legal and illegal circles, and also a suitor of Mrs. Koroglu. When his beloved woman needs help, Javet tracks down the sensationalist reporter in no time. Whoever dares to slander a powerful family must have a mastermind behind them. Under Javet's coercion, the reporter spills everything. It's all Kana's doing. She'd spent a fortune hiring reporters to ruin Nalan's reputation. Mrs. Koroglu is absolutely livid. She tells her son everything and warns him to stay away from Kana, otherwise the entire family will be doomed. Sedat can't believe Kana would do such a thing. He hurries to call her to ask, but Kana ignores him, staying at home with a smirk, relishing the drama as it unfolds. With Kana not replying to messages or answering calls, Sedat is now convinced she's the one behind it all. He's overwhelmed with guilt. How could he have chosen to trust a viper over his kind-hearted wife? Meanwhile, Kana's husband accidentally catches a glimpse of these calls and flirtatious text messages. He finally realizes he might be being cheated on. He grabs Kana's arm and demands to know if she's having an affair with Sedat. Kana vehemently denies it, blaming her husband for being crazy and claiming she only sees Sedat as a brother. Her husband doesn't believe her. Can a brother and sister chat about such cheesy, intimate things? Do you take me for a fool? Enraged, he throws Kana out of the house, warning her to stay away and not corrupt their children. With nowhere else to go, Kana checks into a room at the Koroglu family's hotel. The next day, under pressure about Nalan has been maliciously edited to slander her and sincerely apologizes to the victim. Mr. Koroglu feels overwhelming guilt upon seeing this, realizing he has wronged his daughter-in-law. But too proud to swallow his pride, he cannot bear to face Nalan or his family. So Harry takes him back to his own home. There, Mr. Koroglu accidentally spots a gift box, the very one he once gave to the person who found Nalan's bracelet. It turns out that hours before the wedding, she gave Nalan a bracelet identical to the one Sedat had given her, flaunting her intimacy with Sedat. Repulsed, Nalan flushed the bracelet down the toilet that night. Unexpectedly, Harry found the expensive bracelet while cleaning the bathroom the next day. Instead of keeping it for himself, Harry asked the manager to return it to Nalan, leaving no name. When Mr. Koroglu asks about it, Harry frankly states that taking something that does not belong to him would be theft. This honesty wins Mr. Koroglu's deepening favor and trust. Before long, Nalan and Sedat knock on the door. They hat Mr. Koroglu down and come to take him home. Nalan feels a sense of familiarity with Harry, but cannot place him until she notices the red blanket in the corner. On her wedding night, terrified of consummating the marriage with her husband, Nalan ran to her mother's door begging for help, only to be rejected. As she broke down in tears, a cleaner kindly draped a red blanket over her. Now, Nalan realizes that the person who comforted her that night is Harry. Nalan apologizes to Mr. Koroglu, acknowledging her own faults, and urges him to come home. The prideful Mr. Koroglu recognizes this as his daughter-in-law offering him an olive branch, so he agrees to return. Who would not cherish such a thoughtful woman? Yet Sedat, far from grateful to Harry for saving his father, accuses him of kidnapping Mr. Koroglu to extort money. Harry, out of respect for Nalan, lets it slide. Nalan thanks Harry before leaving, a stark contrast to Sedat's hostility. At this point, neither of them can imagine then that their connection will run far deeper than mere chance encounters. After reassuring her father-in-law, Nalan goes back to her mother's home, hoping to seek Mama's forgiveness. The day before, upon seeing the news of Nalan admitting she married because of pregnancy, Mama, who values chastity more than life itself, was in a towering rage. She completely broke down, repeatedly slapping her own forehead. It was only because Dad kept comforting and reasoning with her that she did not do something extreme. Faced with Nalan's apology, Mama does not accept it right away. "If you want my forgiveness," she says, "you must get pregnant with Sedat's child. Otherwise, I'll cut off all ties with you as mother and daughter. And when I die, I don't want you to come to my funeral either." Staring at her mother's unyielding face, Nalan feels immense pressure. She needs to find a way to conceive quickly. Meanwhile, Kana, who is staying at the same hotel, hears from her friend that Sedat is spending the night there alone. She uses some underhanded means to get a key card to Sedat's room. The married woman wearing a silk dress striding seductively into her lover's room. What's intriguing is that 5 minutes later, Sedat's wife walks in too, ready to consummate their marriage. Nalan lays out a sexy nightgown on the bed and murmurs words of encouragement to herself. Kana, touching up her makeup in the bathroom, is startled by the sound and realizes there's another woman in the room. After work, a weary Sedat is surprised to see his wife's sudden arrival. When he notices her awkwardly tucking the sensual nightgown back, he instantly knows she's here to share the marital bed. His mood lifts at once. As their conversation softens into murmurs, their bodies ease into each other, completely unaware that someone is spying from behind the door. The passionate scene leaves Kana parched with jealousy. She uses her phone to order room service, interrupting their intimacy. Flates in an instant. He jumps up in fear and tells Nalan to check who's at the door. As soon as Nalan leaves, Sedat rushes into the bathroom, snapping at Kana, "Are you crazy? What are you doing here?" Kana claims it's a surprise for him. Terrified out of his wits, Sedat urges her to scramble for a way out. But no sooner has he stepped out of the bathroom than Nalan walks in, psyching herself up in front of the mirror for the consummation, completely oblivious to the rival hiding under the sink. A panicked Sedat hurries to call Nalan out, diverting her attention by talking about wine. Kana calls Sedat, telling him to pretend her friend has been in a car accident. Sedat plays along, putting on a flustered act and dragging Nalan out with him. But once they're downstairs, Sedat makes every excuse to keep Nalan from going to the hospital, insisting he'll go alone. He even claims he left his phone in the room, rushing back to ditch her. Once back in the room, Sedat is furious at Kana for showing up uninvited until she leans in for a kiss. Starved of intimacy for days, Sedat can't resist, throwing himself into her arms. Afterwards, the two snuggle up, chatting about his bid for the company's chairman position. A few days ago, to repay Harry for saving his life, Mr. Coroglu made him his personal chauffeur. The cleaner was overwhelmed with joy. Never had he imagined that the richest man would recognize him as a confidant. As soon as he returned home, Mr. Coroglu announced momentous news. He had decided to step down as chairman of the board and would appoint one of his 3 children to take on the crucial role. His family was both shocked and confused. Mr. Coroglu had long ruled over every member of the household with an iron fist. Why would he suddenly let go of his power? Sedat and Selan both began secretly vying for the position of board chairman, each hoping to secure it for themselves. Musso, however, was not particularly interested. It doesn't matter to him who takes over, he can accept it as long as that person doesn't harm the kind-hearted Nalan. Sedat is lost, unsure what to do to win this important position. Kana suggests he be nicer to Nalan. Since Mr. Coroglu adores Nalan and values her greatly, her words might just help him gain favor with his father. Sedat sets aside her playful ways and dives into work, eager to make his mark and prove his abilities. Recently, Mr. Coroglu wants to invest in building a new hotel to expand the family's prestige, but the loan approval has been delayed. Sedat sees this as his best chance to prove himself. He boasts in front of everyone that he will definitely secure it. However, Mr. Coroglu has been disappointed by this son too many times and holds no hope, only saying coldly that he'll wait and see. Selan even mocks Sedat for daydreaming. Why not just enjoy being a carefree rich kid? Why wade into this mess? The distrust from his father and sister infuriates Sedat. He turns to his mother for help, sobbing that no one has ever thought highly of him since he was a child. He promises to turn over a new leaf, vowing to cut all ties with Kana and devote himself to his wife. Mrs. Coroglu can't resist his pleas and agrees to support him. Soon, word of all this reached the ears of Mr. Coroglu's rival Javed. He secretly asks Sedat to come out for a meeting, offering to help him seize power. Mr. Coroglu is blind not to see what a capable son he has. Sedat is completely taken in by his flattery. He only knows Javed is his mother's sister's husband, unaware that Javed has long harbored feelings for his mother. With Javed's help, the president of the bank calls Sedat, expressing approval of his innovative plan and granting the loan. Mr. Coroglu is impressed by Sedat for the first time, so much so that he even gives Sedat a piece of his own cheese. This is a privilege no one present has ever been granted before. Hoping to win more of his father's favor, Sedat praises Nalan, saying she was the only one who silently supported and believed in him when everyone else doubted him. Mr. Coroglu is delighted, remarking that Sedat has finally grown up and learned to think this marriage has worked a miracle. He immediately decides to give the young couple a long vacation for a honeymoon. Knowing Nalan dislikes crowded, prying places, Sedat plans to take her to the farm hotel where he proposed. But Mr. Coroglu, worried Sedat might drive recklessly and get hurt, asks Harry to drive them there. In truth, he also wants Harry to keep an eye on them. Nalan respects Harry deeply. She speaks to him in a gentle manner, never acting as if she were his master. Harry cannot help but fall in love with this kind and graceful lady. In contrast, Sedat looks down on the driver simply because Harry used to clean toilets. Throughout the journey, he shows off his wealth and deliberately belittles Harry. Even though Nalan tries to stop him, she cannot silence his disrespectful words. When they stop at a service area to rest, Sedat heads to the bathroom without a second thought. Harry, on the other hand, runs to buy water for Nalan, 1 bottle cold, 1 room temperature, letting her choose. Nalan would never have thought, for a man with such a rough, burly look, he could have such a tender heart. Sedat, though, lingers by the car door, refusing to climb in until Harry comes to open it for him. It is the first time Nalan has seen this high and mighty side of her husband. Upon arriving at the farm hotel, Sedat tells the manager not to prepare a room for Harry. He's just a driver. He should stay with the hotel staff. Nalan feels embarrassed, but is powerless to change things. To please his wife, Sedat gives her a bouquet of magnolias, simply because she once mentioned in passing that they are her favorite. Nalan is deeply moved by this thoughtful gesture, completely unaware that he is only using her. Sedat even goes out of his way to put on silly impersonations, setting Nalan off into fits of laughter. Encouraged by him, Nalan lets go of her ladylike proprieties, loosens up, and joins in the mimicry. As they grow more relaxed and joyful by the minute, kisses and other intimate gestures unfold naturally. That night, Sedat fulfills his duties as a husband. Yet, in the stillness of the night, Sedat slips out to the balcony and calls Kana. He tells her the task has been completed, even scoffing that Nalan doesn't know the first thing about it. Kana's the only one who gets it, and she's his one true love. At that moment, Harry is downstairs feeding the dogs and overhears their conversation. Just as Sedat pours out his love to Kana, Nalan steps outside. He feigns innocence, lying that he is calling the friend injured in the car accident to check on his condition. Nalan doesn't suspect a thing. Furious after learning the truth, Harry storms to the restaurant to drown his anger in drink. He feels deeply wronged for Nalan. What's so great about the rich man's son? He has such a tender, devoted wife, but doesn't cherish her, fooling around with someone else. He's nothing but a wolf in sheep's clothing. If she were mine, I wouldn't even bear to hurt a single hair on Nalan's head, Harry mutters. Harry longs to be wealthy too. That way, he would have the power to protect the woman he loves. The next morning, bleary-eyed from a hangover, Harry hurries to meet Sedat and Nalan for breakfast. But the staff stop him, stating that the staff meal is served elsewhere and he can't eat here. Harry knows Sedat is behind this. Watching the hypocritical Sedat kiss Nalan's hand, vowing he'll love her for a lifetime through every word, Harry's stomach churns with disgust. He's desperate to rush over and spill the truth, yet holds back. Afraid of hurting Nalan, he can only swallow his anger. Out of nowhere, Sedat starts ordering Harry around with an air of arrogance, telling him to go make coffee. As just a lowly employee, Harry can't fight back. When Harry brings the coffee over, Sedat sneers that he smells disgusting, like a toilet. Humiliated beyond words, Harry's hand slips and the coffee spills right over Sedat's crotch. Serves him right, maybe now he'll stop preying on other women. He was scolded, but it was a relief. Sedat goes back to his room and complains that he doesn't understand why his father hired such an idiot as a driver. To calm his rage, Nalan suggests going for a walk, but Sedat says he wants a massage instead. With nothing better to do, Nalan heads off to wander through the forest alone. Harry follows at a distance, admiring her beauty. The crisp air and warm sunlight make Nalan's mind drift to her intimate moments with Sedat the night before. Lost in thought, she trips and falls into a pit. Harry sprints over, reaching her in a flash. Seeing her sprained ankle, too painful to walk, Harry sweeps her up in his arms and carries her back to the hotel. Once in the lobby, Harry immediately finds an ice pack for her swollen ankle, even wrapping it in his own towel to keep her from getting cold. The close contact makes Nalan slightly uncomfortable, but she's genuinely grateful. Harry may seem unremarkable at first glance, but he's surprisingly attentive in his actions, nothing like Sedat, who's all empty words. When Sedat sees his wife hurt, his first reaction is to fly into a rage. But it's not out of concern, it's because a mere driver dared to lay a hand on his wife. He snaps at the manager. Does a hotel this size not have a doctor? The manager replies that the doctor is in the next village and will take some time to arrive. Sedat erupts, yelling about their terrible service and threatening to file a complaint. Meanwhile, Kana's husband is taking her to court, filing for divorce and planning to fight for custody of their children. Kana is furious that he shouldn't have deprived her of her right to be a mother. Though Kana is far from a perfect person, she always takes excellent care of their 2 kids. They are her whole life. Alp doesn't bother to argue with Kana and calls security to kick her out of the office. Cornered with no way out, Kana has to call Sedat, demanding his help. Otherwise, I'll spill all the dirty secrets between us to the world. We'll both crash and burn. You'll never lay a finger on that company chairman seat. Reluctantly, Sedat gives in. On the way back, Sedat puts on a show of being a caring husband. He tells Nalan to rest her foot on his lap and gives it a few insincere massages. Nalan says it's not a big deal and wants to stop by to see Mama. Sedat agrees without hesitation. He's been scrambling for an excuse to get rid of her. Mama is thrilled to hear they've consummated their marriage. She even holds up her hand, a gesture to show she truly accepts Sedat into the family. To go meet Kana, Sedat tells his in-laws that Nalan has sprained her ankle and that he has an urgent matter at work to attend to. He'll leave her there in their care. Mama grinds up ointment to ease Nalan's pain and swelling. For the first time in a long while, Nalan feels the warmth of a mother's love and is deeply moved. But the tenderness doesn't last. Mama says she's only completed the first step. She still owes her a grandchild. That suffocating sense of having no privacy washes over Nalan again, trapping her in an endless cycle of misery. In the restaurant, Kana takes Sedat to her husband and tries to convince him that there is no affair between them, but a normal sibling relationship. Sedat even goes so far as to declare he loves only his wife Nalan. Little do they know, Alp has already seen their flirtatious chat history on Kana's phone. Alp scoffs at their self-directed drama, calling them utterly stupid. He lays it out bluntly, "I've long known about the affair between you two. I couldn't care less about that, but I'm never giving her custody of the kids, not when she'd only corrupt them." Kana storms back to the hotel, only to run into Selin. Selin guesses she's here to see Sedat and lays into her with a string of reproaches. Kana isn't about to back down, firing back, "We got married around the same time. I already have 2 kids, but you still haven't become a mother." This hits Selin right where it hurts. She can't argue, so she turns and leaves. It turns out her long-term high-intensity work has made it hard for her to get pregnant. That's why she's always felt she's letting her husband down. In the evening, Levent's sister bursts into the villa, shouting and making a scene. But Levent refuses to entertain her. He moves to throw her out, only to be stopped by Mr. Corset. She's explaining through tears that her husband got tricked. They're drowning in debt now. She insists she had no other choice but to come begging her brother for money, all for the sake of her kid. This tugs at Mr. Corset's heart. He's always been family-oriented, so he agrees to pay off all her debts. Once his sister leaves, Mr. Corset tears into Levent, roaring that nothing infuriates me more than a man who doesn't fight for his family's well-being. What Mr. Corset doesn't know is that Levent's sister is actually a gambler. Levent and Nalan have been hiding her gambling habits, secretly paying off her debts countless times, but she remains unrepentant, demanding more and more. That's why Levent refused her just now, wanting to kick her out. Watching her husband being cursed out as worthless by her father, Selin feels utterly miserable. To rescue her husband from this predicament, Selin lies to them, announcing that she's pregnant. The news hits everyone like a thunderbolt, especially Sedat. This is the critical moment for the chairman election. Sedat is already outshone by Selin in every way and has never been his father's favorite. Mr. Corset has long dreamed of having a grandson to carry on the family line. With her pregnancy announcement, Selin's status in the family skyrockets. Mr. Corset promises to grant her every wish, no matter what she asks for. Selin's sudden move throws all of Sedat's plans into disarray. Frantic and agitated, he hurries to discuss with Nalan, insistent they must have a baby right away. But Nalan refuses to be reduced to a breeding tool in their power struggle. She says she's not ready to be a mother, insisting things should take their natural course. Sedat's face hardens instantly. "You're my wife." Nalan sees through his ambition, but she refuses to use a child as a bargaining chip. They erupt into a bitter argument, ending on terrible terms. Nalan heads to the living room to calm down. Muzo notices her unhappiness right away. Nalan asks him, "Have you never thought about having kids?" He smiles and replies, "Only if I had a girlfriend first." Muzo looks at her softly, admitting he might never meet his one true love. What Nalan doesn't know is that Muzo fell in love with her the moment he first saw her. No other woman has ever crossed his mind. But his love isn't about possession, he just wants her to be happy. Sensing she's fought with Sedat, he reassures her that all marriages have their rough patches. Relieved, Nalan returns to Sedat only to find him snoring like a log. This is Maroon Recap. Check out my homepage and you'll see more recaps of Camdaki Kız. I'm hastening to write and edit the next recap, so feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.